Put those tinfoil hats on because I've got a juicy one for you guys today. With the Vatican proposing a new theology which accepts non-human intelligence, ETs, reincarnation, life on other planets, and that nature is alive and sentient, including planets and galaxies. Yeah, the Vatican has completely flipped itself on its head and is basically like, yes, we are proposing this new theology that accepts all beings, life beings, including human species and other species, and other human intelligence that are non-human. You know, it's pretty wild. So we're going to dive into that today, and also look at what else the Vatican may know that we don't. Because obviously, you know, when you think about aliens and cover-ups, you think of the Pentagon, you think of Area 51, you think of Antarctica and secret civilizations, you think under the ocean, you never think the Vatican. At least I didn't, but maybe that's where we should be putting our attention. Because the new technology will teach that we are not alone in the universe, that God is not an abstract being, but that he is an omni-creating intelligence. The energy that spreads and the light the galaxies creates in the galaxies and solar systems. Therefore, the universe represents life, and terrestrial man is not the only interior container of intelligent spirit. Indeed, from the smallest atom to the largest galaxy, they are all living beings. Suns, galaxies, planets are alive and possess an intelligence which has at times incarnated into men to speak to men and to help them in their evolution. Now, this is very interesting. If you want to read the full kind of chop and chase, a very long kind of thing, but I'll, you know, link it down below so you can go and have a little scan through. But the long story short is the Vatican is no longer going to just look at human beings as an intelligent life form, and instead, in their kind of theology, they're going to say that you know, any being, whether it be human, extraterrestrial, or just a living organism from a planet to a star to a galaxy, is included within God's work. Now, I'm not a religious man at all. I don't really believe in a God per se, but you know, I find it very interesting that the Vatican has kind of had this sudden change. Very sudden. It's kind of gone from kind of us to the greater beings. Why is that? Now, I don't want to tread on anyone's religion, so please, you know, don't, you know, I hope I don't offend anyone with what I will go on to talk about within this video. You know, I don't want to upset anyone, but, you know, I just don't want to upset anyone. But the question is, does this coincide with this kind of slow disclosure that we've been getting kind of from, you know, these Arrow reports recently and things like this, where the idea is that from people who are kind of, you know, in the know with these things, saying that we're getting slow disclosure with regards to extraterrestrial life, alien life, and not kind of getting it all dumped on us. Is the Vatican preparing for some kind of disclosure that could change everything? Because obviously, you know, if extraterrestrials were to be exposed, for example, by world governments, for you know, just out of the blue, everyone will kind of look at religion and be like, that kind of, how does religion explain this? You know, is it almost like a preemptive change to be like, look, you know, we accept all beings, God created all beings, whether it be human or not, and is it kind of prepared? Do they know something that we don't? Are they preparing for something that is coming? That's the question that I've got especially. But when I looked into this, I couldn't find too much about the reasons for the change. It's just the change. It's just changed. But what I want to know, or when I went looking, I discovered some very big links between the Vatican and aliens. Apparently, there have been, you know, for decades, these catacombs under the Vatican, and when people have gone down there, they found some very alarming things. And we're going to kind of look at some TikToks that better describe it than I ever could. But then we're going to bring it back to the original question about this whole disclosure thing and what the Vatican know, or supposedly know. Let's take a little look.
The Vatican archives. In the 1920s, there's a Russian professor. His name is Gingrich Ludwig. He was able to have access to the archives. 12 centuries of European history. He walked up on this one section, which was ancient books about aliens, and he came across the craziest stuff. These books talked about how these star people coming down in crafts taught all the ancient civilizations how to build the pyramids, and taught the Mayans things, and like all this crazy stuff. And then, this is what I thought was the craziest part, but he writes down that these things had these weapons, and I guess they used it once on Babylon, and said that this weapon that these things possessed melted the walls of Babylon with the amount of energy and heat that they produce. And today we're like, those are nuclear weapons. And I'm just like, why are they hiding this stuff?
So there's one. Obviously, you know, the thought process, it gets your mind kind of ticking. And then when you kind of like look into the whole, with the information that we've got now with regards to this change, and now that David Grush has also revealed that the Vatican does indeed know about non-human intelligence existing, the paintings become very relevant to the discussion. Okay, so that's what this TikToker's saying. But it really does, because if you look at these paintings, you know, very historical religious paintings. Obviously, we've got Jesus Christ up on the cross, okay? And then you've got these two things up in the top corners. And here's some better images here. Almost like these star people that was mentioned in the previous video being in their little crafts up in the sky. Okay, some people would just be like, maybe they're just angels. I don't know. I don't want to, you know, shit on religion, so we move. But this is just, I can only work with what I'm given. But again, we look at this one. You've got lady here. Please forgive me, I don't know my religious paintings very well. I don't know if this is a monumental person in religion. So, you know, forgive my arrogance. But you can see up in the sky here, we've got this kind of light, yellow spherical light. And a laser coming through the wall, literally piercing a hole in the wall and then going through to our brain. Okay, move on to the next one. Oh, that is this one. My bad. On to the next. So there's that kind of cloud spherical shape. Next one. We've got this. We've got this lady, two Adonis-looking babies, I don't know. And then you've got this little craft up in the top corner over here. And then you've got this dude literally looking up at it, kind of like, what is that? And his dog also acknowledging it. And you got this UFO looking craft. And then you fast forward and you've obviously got, again, this UFO looking spherical shape beaming down onto these two people here. Now, again, I don't know my religious paintings very well. This could be depictions of a god. Correct me if I'm wrong, you know, people who are religious and understand these paintings better than I do. Is this supposed to be a depiction of God? Or what is this supposed to actually depict within these paintings? But when you look back to the information and kind of knowledge that we have now, does it link? Are there links? Are there correlations? We're going to look at one last video, which again dives into the Vatican archives and the things that have been found within these archives. Let's take a little look at this.
Whew. Listen, in those 5 miles of underground Vatican archives, there's been a few people that have come out talking who have had access to these Vatican archives. They can't say specifically everything they saw, but one guy did come on a documentary on History Channel years ago and talked about the fact that they had bones of beings that weren't human. From their perspective, they weren't human bodies. They had books and text down there that nobody's ever been able to read or access that talk about technology, flying devices, and all these other incredible things that were hidden during the Inquisitions. Because during the Inquisitions, they were suppressing technology heavy because they wanted to keep their boot on the necks of the people. The Inquisitions were so brutal, they over 80 million people over the course of 700 years ordered underneath the popes. That really held us back.
Right, so you kind of look at this, right? You see all this. Now, my first question when I was like looking into this and researching this, I was like, well, if they've been sat on this since the Inquisitions and they've been sat on this information for decades, centuries even, why now? Why this sudden change, going back to the first thing that we spoke about, the change in theology? You know, why? And I've got a feeling, and this is just a personal feeling, and, you know, correct me if you think otherwise down in the comments, but I've got a feeling that, you know how the government are kind of like starting to seep out information because they know that there's a lot more independent kind of news outlets, like this channel here. I try and like release information on what I find on UFOs and stuff. And I know that a lot of other channels on YouTube do, and blogs and the internet, basically, TikTok pages, all sorts. Is it because the government are like now realizing that they can't contain this information as well as they want to because of news outlets being able to spread this information so far and so wide, has the Vatican also got the same concern that the things that they were able to hide, because there was manipulated media and stuff like this, the things that they were able to hide are not able to be hidden for much longer? So do they have to kind of preemptively change things in order so that if these things come out, there's no backlash, there's no well, you were lying, you didn't tell us about this stuff, you knew about this whole time, because they can turn around and be like, no, we've got this new theology that says that we accept non-human intelligences and extraterrestrials. That's just my theory. That's just a theory. I don't know for certain, obviously. I can't actually say, but we see it with the government right now, especially, people are piling on the pressure for disclosure on UFOs. And, you've got people like Tim Galorder, you've got people like Ross Coulthart, you've got politicians like, I forget her name, what's her name? Luna, and her associates. They are piling on the pressure for disclosure. You've got David Grush now, whistleblowing, the things that he knows, and plenty of other whistleblowers coming forward as well. Is it almost controlled exposure? Is it like controlling the narrative as best they can while they can to kind of tease out this information so it doesn't look, the fallout's not so negative or bad? I don't know. Maybe I'm kind of getting a very conspiracy theorist here, but that's what I told you to put your tinfoil hats on, because this one was it was always going to be a stretch because of the limited information that we have got, but it leads us to speculate a lot of questions. Now, I know that when religion is involved, it is a very tough one to navigate, because I don't want to upset anyone because of their beliefs, so I hope I haven't offended anyone, and if I have, I do deeply apologize. Let me know what you think in the comments though. Be nice to each other. Don't go slandering one another because of your beliefs or whatever. Everyone's entitled to their own beliefs. So let's be politically fair down in the comments. And while you're down there, be sure to jump scare the hell out of that like button if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new, and tickle my little bell so you get notified whenever we upload. And until next time, I hope that you have enjoyed. I cannot wait to see you in the next one, and I'll speak to you later. Peace.